So from here, I want to set up my walk cycle happening on top of this section. So what I'm going to do is go back to my project window, and if you don't see this window, go back to Window and Project, which is here at the bottom. These are your panels, and these are your main windows that you'll see. So I see Project down here. And I'm going to make a new composition that is set to 1920 by 1080. And this is, I'm going to call this main comp. So that way this is going to be where my larger sort of container. It's set to 1 minute. I might set this, I could set it to 1 minute, that's totally fine. So inside here, I'm going to first bring in my walk cycle figure. And that character is there. And I might move my anchor point to right where the feet of my character are, so that way if I scale it up and down, it'll shrink right around that point, and I can do that by going to my pan behind tool or the anchor point tool or it's the tool Y, and I just move this down. And the difference with this is now when I press scale, if I go to S for scale, it shrinks right around that point. If I didn't do that, it would shrink around that center point. So it just is a little bit easier sometimes to move it first. So Y, move it down. Now, I then want to bring in my background, which is this one here, the background forest. And you see the character's just walking right on top of it, but the background's not moving. And what I want to do is be able to move this background. And so the first thing I need to do is slide it all the way over to the left. And the really easy way to do that is if you go to Align and select your layer and make sure composition is selected. I'm going to align it all the way on the left side. And that's great, that's going to get me perfectly there. And I'm going to move my character down to where I want to go. And you can press V or the move tool to do that. I might make them a little bit bigger, just so they're there. And now if I play this forward, cool, looking great. Now I need to get my landscape to move backwards. And if I go to P and position, I can slide it going this way, right? I could have it move as I go. So let's see if I move it forward. But this is not the technique we're going to use. We're going to use something slightly different. So I can have this going backwards. And I think this is actually going to make it go, right? You could do something like this, but if you do, it's not going to loop perfectly. There's another technique we're going to use. And the nice thing is we can adjust it really easily if we need to. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to delete these positions. I want to go to an effect called offset. And when I click and drag, I'm going to drag it to my layer itself. And what this allows me to do is if you go to offset, it's either up here, or if you press E on your layer, you'll see it pop up. Scroll down. This shifts it back and forth. And so when I drag this forward, you can see, remember we put it all the way on the left side? Even when I drag it backwards, it's going to show me the other side of the drawing. So it's going to create that the illusion of a perfect loop, which is really cool. So I'm first going to set a keyframe at the very beginning when I apply this, jump forward in time, and this is going to change the second keyframe, but we're going to you can jump forward to 5 seconds, wherever you want. And what you have to do is, A, know how big your image is. And so I can go to background forest, which is my background, and I can either do Control K or right click on the composition and see composition settings. And I can see my width is set to 3,840. So I'm going to copy that, Command C. I go back to main comp, and inside here, inside my effects, I want to add, when I'm on the second keyframe, where we're going to make it right now, I want to either add or subtract that number that I just had from the starting point, and you'll see why. I'm gonna subtract it because I know I need to go to the left, and I paste it in, and we see no change, and that's good. That's because we did it at the exact right number. So now what happens is this character is going to walk through, moves it forward, and we'll see it's going to stop right at that point. But we want to keep this going. So the way we do that is I'm going to hold down Alt, loop out, and cycle. And what that does, so I held down Alt, clicked on the stopwatch, and that opened up this panel. And what this does is it allows us to keep this loop going. So the background's moving way too fast. But it's got a perfect loop now. And what we can easily do is just drag the second keyframe a little bit longer, way slower, way better. So I can always just go in and say I want it to slow it down a little bit. And it's glitching a little bit just because of the render time of I'm also recording video as we're doing this. So this is how you would add in an offset and get that perfect sort of loop. And we can see that loop, it'll happen like right about here-ish. Right, remember this is that other side. It was right where that stuck out there. And again, it's only glitching because of the recording video. In the next video, I'm going to show how to have something in the foreground as well, and we'll go from there.